Hello, ladies and gentlemen, it's Rei-Lin, and I'm back after a little bit of a break there between videos with a new game to share with you. This is Dauntless. It is a game from a new developer, Phoenix Labs. It's comprised of a bunch of developers from formerly Riot Games, Blizzard, and Bioware, and is Capcom. So you'll probably see kind of a comparison being made between Dauntless and a few other games that you might recognize, such as Capcom's Monster Hunter series, and Dark Souls, and maybe just a little bit of World of Warcraft in there at the same time. This is in closed beta. You can buy your way in with a founder pack, and you can basically do a lot of really cool stuff. This game is actually really good. A lot of people have basically said it's Monster Hunter Light, but I've also heard that this is more traditional Monster Hunter. Now, personally, I've never played the Monster Hunter series. I was actually waiting for Monster Hunter World to come out on PC so I could, kind of get in there and find out what all the coolness is about, because it definitely looks cool even on the consoles. But there's this huge gap between uh, when Monster Hunter World hit consoles and when it's supposed to come out on PC. I've heard as late as October and maybe even later than that, which seems crazy long to go without a game of that type, of which I think there's pretty much just Monster Hunter World. But this game is a little bit different. It's not nearly as massive, but again, it is in closed beta. There are about 12 monsters instead of, I think Monster Hunter World has like 31 or 32, and the maps aren't nearly as huge and laid out. There's no like underwater caves, there's no mountains to climb or anything like that. It's fairly straightforward. Go out, find the monster, and beat the crap out of it until it dies. There is some gathering, as you can see as I run around these maps. You'll see me picking up flowers and certain other little knickknacks as I go along. But it does have a crafting system, mainly for like healing items, defensive items, and of course crafting weapons and gear. Now, obviously, there's some differences between Monster Hunter World and this, besides just even gameplay. But of course, the graphics are very different here. This is more of a cartoony style. It almost is like a blend of Fortnite. If they had made this game, it sort of reminds me of that more than the more realistic style that Capcom's used. But since the development team is sort of made up of all the kind of former people from most of those companies, there's going to be a little bit of everything. And I think as a base game, definitely the game is really well founded. It has a good foundation. There are 5 weapon types so far. There unfortunately are no ranged weapons, so no bows, no rifles, or anything like that. I'm currently having a lot of fun with the chain blades, which is exactly that. They look like sort of like mining picks. They get more varied as you go up in the tiers, but they mainly have a bit of range, and they are very quick, and they're really fun to play. Main weapons, basically, you got a two-handed sword, you have a gigantic hammer, you have a gigantic axe, you have a war pike, which is sort of a one-bladed bow staff that also fires rockets. You have the chain blades also, and that rounds out all the 5 weapons that are currently in the game. There are multiple weapons that give you multiple bonuses depending on what kind of monster that you're trying to slay. And different weapon types are more or less effective against certain monsters. The axe is very good, for example, in cutting tails off or doing slicing damage, whereas the hammer is very good at fighting monsters that have a lot of armor. Thus, you're able to bust pieces of armor off and get to the tender bits underneath. And the chain blade is just really fast, and it's just in general, it's just a very good weapon that's keeps you alive because you're fast enough to get out of the way. Um, the AI on the monsters is good. I don't believe that it is Monster Hunter good, but of course, all of this is subject to change and to improve as they develop the game. Monster Hunter World, the AI sort of is adaptive. It figures out what you're doing and then figures out a way to get around it. You can cheese that system as well as this system, and the AI in this acts more like something from a World of Warcraft boss, where there are specific things that you can do to force it to do certain things, which would leave it wide open. But Solo, a lot of the monsters are much easier because it's only reacting to what you're doing. But you can do these hunts with up to 4 people, and when you do that, when you start adding players to the party, it can change how the AI functions. So if everybody is on the side of a monster, it's going to tend to want to hit them, or if only a couple of people are on the side, one in the front and one behind, it might go through any of all of those scripts. It might bat its tail, it might charge forward, or it might roll over on its side. And some of that has only got the quickest of tells to make sure, to warn you that it's about to do one thing or another. But overall, it is not easy. The first couple of tiers are pretty easy. Tier 3, 4, and 5, which is the max you can get to in the beta right now, ramp up in difficulty quite a lot. You have to memorize the attacks and wear the right gear, because eventually there's going to be a lot of elemental weaknesses and strengths that these monsters have, and if you don't have basically the right gear for the right monster, you're not going to be nearly as effective. So hopefully your group can pick up your slack, but in general, if you have the right tools for the job, you tend to make short work of the monsters. That doesn't mean that the fights are short, it just means that you're going to do the most damage and take the least damage in most situations. Now that doesn't mean much if you don't know the patterns. That's kind of what the first couple of tiers are doing. They're sort of introducing you to a lot of the monsters and the monster types and what they do and how to deal with them, because the patterns, like I said, they're not necessarily that brutal, but getting hit multiple times will put you down, and you only have so many times that you can resurrect people before a little critical meter builds in the top left corner. Once that fills up, you can't resurrect anybody until you've either drove the monsters off by doing enough damage to scare them and make them run away, or you actually kill them. Now there are consumables in the bottom right of the screen. It doesn't matter how many you craft, such as the healing potion, the defense potion, and then you have a resurrection or another heal that you can use in place of it. You have a flare, that's what the hammer is, and then a supply drop of some kind is what the 5th slot does. Those are limited in numbers. Every time you start, you only have 5 heals, you only have 3 defenses, 1 res. The flare is unlimited. It's just if you spread out trying to hunt the monster down, you can fire a flare to tell everybody on the map where you are and where the monster is, and then 1 supply drop. Now those things can change. It's kind of like a basic UI that they've put in the game. As you can see, even the mini map, which would probably display the monster and the people around me, is not even working. So overall, it is a closed beta, and I still think it's really good. There's still a lot to do. I mean, if you were really good at Monster Hunter, you'll probably plow through the tiers pretty quick. But it's really fun to take your time and explore each one of the monsters and learn all their patterns, get all the armor, get it all upgraded. The same with the weapons. So there's actually several weeks worth of content here, unless, like I said, you're just number 1 in the world and you just stomp everything really quick, then you'll probably plow through the game pretty quick. But it is a heck of a lot of fun. My only real gripe is that it costs $40 to get in as a minimum to the closed beta. There are 3 packages to buy. Founder packs, the lowest is $40, the next step is $60, and the top of the line is $80. You do get a free code to invite a friend if you buy the $80 version, but I do wish that the lowest one was like maybe $15, because I don't think the game at the stage that it's in at the moment is worth paying $40 to get in, unless you really want to play Monster Hunter and you don't own the consoles and you're just looking for something to kind of fill that time gap. Then this might be a good thing to try out. I think it's really well done. There are some bugs and glitches, but they work through those bugs and the glitches pretty much on a daily basis. I'm actually surprised by how quickly they take care of some of this stuff. But anyway, I wanted to keep this short and sweet. This is Dauntless. I think it is a pretty damn nice start for a game that is probably going to only be number 2 of a genre that is currently only filled by Monster Hunter World. So this game might be able to compete pretty well. It's a slightly different direction than Monster Hunter World, and obviously a different art style and all of that. But I think it has what it takes to actually make something cool happen. And that's going to do it for this video. Like I said, I want to keep it short and sweet. If you liked it, please press the like button down below. And if you haven't had a chance to subscribe to my channel, you can click down the bottom of your screen and get hooked up. Every time I upload a new video, you'll get a message. Thanks a lot, everybody. Take care, and I'll talk to you all next time.